1, 2, 3, I don't know who else to be. 4, 5, 6, like they say I can't be fixed.
Hi, I'm Jenny,
And I'm Jill.
and welcome to Fluffy Mother Fluffer, where we're taking life seriously, one laugh at a time.
Since April Fool's Day is coming up, today we're going to talk about the biggest fools of all, our siblings. Today, we're all about the most common struggles and issues that come up in sibling relationships, followed by what to do if you and your siblings just can't get along. Then get ready for a special segment all about April Fool's Day and some of the greatest pranks that have been played over the years. Do you play April Fool's jokes at home?
I really haven't. My mom did a really good one for us growing up.
Did she?
Yeah. So she was making dinner and she said we were having fish sticks, mashed potatoes with gravy, and peas and carrots with Kool-Aid. Turns out the fish sticks were these crunchy coated peanut butter candies that actually look like fish sticks. The mashed potatoes was vanilla ice cream, the caramel sauce for gravy, and then she somehow found these little peas and carrots. They were candies that were shaped like peas and carrots.
No way.
Yeah. And then for the Kool-Aid, it was actually Jell-O. She had set up in our drink glasses with a straw sticking out ahead of time to get them to set. But it was interesting because she even had like the deep fryer and stuff going to create the smell of cooking.
She went hardcore.
She did.
This sounds like a Jenny prank.
Yeah.
We're going to do the Jell-O. I'm going to do that one.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Jell-O's funny.
My kids, I do little pranks on them, but now that Addie's getting older, she'd get into it. She would think that was amazing.
Last year, we played a prank on Captain Hot Pants where YouTube has a broken screen prank. It looks like a shattered LED screen for like a TV.
Yeah.
And anyway, we put that up. And then I prompted my son to cry as, and then I had him run into the room going, "You all hate me," because that's like his patented line in our house. Is my son yells, "You all hate me." So I'm like, make sure you yell that and you start screaming. And so he came in the living room. He's like, "What happened?" I'm like,
What was his reaction? Was he pissed?
I don't know. I think he was actually a little excited because he could finally get a new TV. Because we've had that TV since 2006. We've had it forever. Like, it just won't die.
Right.
15 years we've had it, and it's still kind of like old school. But anyway, so I think he was a little disappointed that it wasn't actually broken.
That's funny.
So, but other than that, we don't play many pranks because you know why.
Because you get punched in the boob.
Yeah, because Captain Hot Pants is all fight and no flight. So he just punches. But anyway, so today we get to talk about something fun. Actually, this is going to be a two-parter, not a back-to-back two-parter, because we have other fun planned for you, but we're going to do a two-parter on siblings. The next episode, because fun enough, Jenny is the oldest of her siblings.
Yep.
I am the middle. And then I have a sister named Jenny who we're going to bring in, and she is the youngest. She's the baby of our family. So we thought it would be fun to do the great sibling debate and talk about why each of our positions in the family is the worst.
The worst?
And the best.
Oh.
It depends on how you look at it.
No, that's absolutely true.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're going to do in our part 2. That's going to come out later. But for now, Jenny's going to talk first about what we fight about.
Yeah, relationships with their siblings. I have 3 siblings, so there's 4 of us total. The relationship with siblings can be complicated, but it could also be one of the most important relationships we have throughout our entire lives.
Oh, for sure.
You know, our parents usually leave us too soon. Our kids and husbands, they come later in life. But our siblings, we've known essentially our whole lives. Mm-hmm. They've grown up with us, so they've seen us develop into who we currently are as adults. And they are usually also our first friends. And because of the usual closeness in age, most of us probably went to them for things we might not have felt comfortable going to our parents with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Right? Like
our garage was known for those ducks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially what I'm saying is that the relationship we have with our siblings is important growing up. But what about the fluffy stuff that happens after the fact? Some people are estranged from their siblings. Mm-hmm. Or just don't have great relationships, or just aren't very close to some of their siblings into adulthood. Let's touch base on some of the fluffy issues people tend to complain about most.
And this is as kids or
as adults?
As adults, okay.
Yeah. I mean, because I feel like as kids, it's always stupid shit that you don't...
Stop touching me.
Right.
Stop looking at me.
With us, we always just like ganged up on each other.
Yeah.
And Yeah.
Did you like partner off?
Oh, yeah.
Or you'd like have, well,
100%.
our house, there was an uneven number because there's five of us.
There was always
Or-
one unlucky son of a bitch that was getting it that day.
My parents thought it would be really super smart because we had such a big family to get this big conversion van. Like it was this huge van and it had 2 seats and one of the seats would flip around and face the other and then a table would come up in between.
Oh, nice.
They're like, this is such a good idea. They can color and stuff. Terrible idea. Because then you're all looking at each other and all you hear is, you're looking at me. Stop touching my feet under the table. That's my spot. Get your paper off of my paper.
One of the big things that siblings complain about as far as each other goes in adulthood is not liking a sibling's partner,
Oh, dang.
right?
I feel you. I hate all of my Just kidding. Not you, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to love their significant other, but hopefully you at a minimum find them tolerable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, family functions get weird. But if you really dislike them and or worry that the relationship is toxic, it brings up a lot of concerns or feelings.
Yep.
So how do you handle that? Do you just shut up and smile, or do you voice your opinion? Because let's be real, they probably aren't going to stop seeing this person just because you don't like them or you have concerns, right?
Right.
And if you feel like the relationship is toxic, there's a good chance that whatever you are seeing, they probably won't. That whole love is blind thing. So sometimes they just have to learn for themselves.
Well, and it's hard too because when you bring in a new person who brings in potentially a new dynamic or a new outlook on things,
Right.
and then they become a part of the family, you have to treat them as such. And sometimes that can get very strained as far as how family matters are handled. So you almost want to get rid of them before it gets to that point.
Shit.
You're not allowed in.
Damn, that's hardcore,
I mean,
Jill.
but it's true.
That's hardcore.
Who do I want in my circle of trust?
Right. You either can get to know them and get really close with them, or you just don't. And you're just awkwardly friendly to them at social gatherings.
Yeah.
So, maybe say something initially, but ultimately it's not your choice to make. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you're bringing in somebody into your family that ultimately you might be spending a lot of time with. But if you want a relationship to continue with your sibling, you kind of just have to suck it up and let it ride out.
Yeah, no, you're right, because they're an adult and they get to make their own choices. I think it's just really hard because it's like with your friends. If you see your friend dating somebody that's the person is not good for them, and you just got to let them learn on their own.
But at the same time, you're also being asked to deal with it.
Yeah, because with friends, I can be like, I ain't hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
I don't like him. I'm not hanging out with him. But with family, if Dave's coming to Thanksgiving again. Doesn't he have his own family he can visit? No, you can come. You can come, but Dave can go to his parents' house.
The other issue is being stuck in your childhood roles.
Oh my God, yes.
So even as adults, siblings often continue to enforce these quote unquote roles that were assigned to them as kids, such as, the baby or the boss or the black sheep. The thing is, continuing to be pigeonholed into these roles can be hurtful and also kind of hinder further growth and development. What can you do if you are still being identified in this role but don't necessarily appreciate it?
What can you do?
I mean, communicate.
Are you asking me?
No, I'm just putting it out there.
I'm the middle child, so I am the fluctuating being of the family. I go up, I go down. I don't have a definitive role, I don't think, in my family.
Yeah, and I think the baby, I've noticed. I'll just
biggest
say I've
pain in the
noticed.
ass.
No, but they tend to carry that role on.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the hardest one for them to give up sometimes.
Probably, I mean, from that perspective, I think about it as the baby was the last one to leave home. It's like anything where it's like, last one, this one's going, and when this one's gone, it's all over. I feel like sometimes that leads to the parents treating them a little bit differently.
Oh, like coddling them?
A little bit.
Yeah. No, I definitely noticed that. And then for me being the oldest, like usually known as like the bossy one, the one that just kind of takes control over situations and handles things. So I think more often than not, unless you're expressing your distaste for it, they probably have no idea they're even doing it. It's just kind of assumed that that's just something you're going to take on, which my personality in general, I wouldn't say I'm bossy, but
Your cup says boss lady.
does it?
No, you didn't pick
Hello,
that one,
gorgeous.
but it should. Damn it.
But that's a lot of pressure to be just assumed that, oh, well,
He'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is adult siblings mooching off parents. I feel like that's a big one. Certainly situations arise in which an adult child still needs generous emotional or financial support from their parents, whether it's because of significant mental or physical health issues, certain disabilities, job loss, or other extenuating circumstances.
Yeah.
But these more serious scenarios notwithstanding, an adult sibling who places a great burden on older parents can be frustrating, to say the least. I feel like a lot of people can relate to this one.
I find it difficult when I see a parenting relationship with their children where you see the enabling.
Yes.
Where the parents are the enabler. Like, it's like, you should just tell them, him or her, no. Like,
Right.
just tell them no. They
Right.
cannot do that. Well, it's like, no, well. You're actually hurting them by not forcing them
Right.
to become independent.
Right. And if somebody's got a good situation going and nobody's saying anything about it.
Yeah.
When you have a sibling who moves into their parents' house after a rough patch and then hasn't worked for the last 2 years, that could definitely cause tension. And if nobody's saying anything differently about it, they're living rent free and
right.
Why change that situation if you don't have to, if it's all cushy?
I can feel it from the other side too. I sometimes must be nice to have a comfy way of living. It must be nice to be able to stay home. And it's frustrating because there's a lot more needed from the parent-child relationship than just financial aspects. So just because I'm financially fine doesn't mean I'm all well and good.
Right.
It doesn't mean I don't need to be appreciated for the things I am doing. Yes, it is nice I stay home, but I don't actually stay home. I run my own business. It frustrates me to no end for there to be comparison. So I can see there's enabling some to mooch, and then there's letting others be like, oh, you're fine, so you're on your own. I don't know.
Right. No, exactly.
But that doesn't mean I don't still want to, when I have a bad day, be able to say, this is really difficult, and not be able to say, this is really difficult without hearing, oh, well, that's not that big a deal. You have it pretty good. Like, yes.
Right. There's different levels for sure. When you have those siblings that are taking advantage maybe of your parents, they offered, hey, come live with us. And now it's 2 years later and they're still living there and they still don't have a job. And now your parents are putting things off.
Right.
Their own things off
Right.
because they can't either afford to do them due to the extra burden, or they're putting stuff off because they are desperately trying to get their live-in child to take better care of themselves and get a job and move out.
I'm just replaying the movie Step Brothers in my head right now. Daryl.
Then you also have those siblings who feel like they're entitled to things from your parents.
Yeah.
Whether it be childcare, money for weddings, money for school, bailing them out of situations, things like that. It can just be extremely frustrating, kind of sitting there on the other end of it, looking at it from the outside, regardless of your personal situation. Like you were saying, just to see anyone take advantage of your parents in such a way, especially without returning the favor or doing something equally as nice. Well, they're my parents, so they just owe me this.
Right. No, yeah. Returning them. Yeah.
My mother-in-law watches our children pretty much anytime I ask her to. And that is very generous of her. I try and do as much as I can for her in return to show her that I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because I don't ever want her to think that I just assume
Right.
that she's going to do that or that that's her job as grandma.
For me, it's like, I don't like people doing things for me. I don't know why. I just don't. So I always feel like I have to repay to
sure.
offset the balance or reset the balance of the scale.
I think for me, my biggest thing is wanting to know that I'm appreciated. And so I want others to know that I appreciate them and the work they do.
Yes.
Like, hey, I see you doing this and I appreciate that. That is not something I expect.
No, absolutely. If you continuously give and give and give and give and give, and even if you're a giving person and you feel like as a parent, this is my responsibility to help out with my grandchildren, or this is just part of the job of having my own children, eventually your giving is going to give no shits. Like, it's going to change to, I can't give any more. Because if it's not being reciprocated, it's just like we talked about with friendships. If you're the one that's always giving, you're depleting your energy and you're depleting your life happiness and your satisfaction to please somebody else. And eventually, even as a parent, it's going to wear you down.
Right. Yeah. What do you do in those situations too? When you have siblings that you feel like are taking advantage of your parents or taking advantage of other siblings? I don't know.
You put them in their place. You set boundaries. No, it sucks because it's just going to lead to conflict and it's going to lead. But
it is.
But it's something that the sooner you handle it and you make your feelings aware,
Right.
better.
Because if you let it sit there and fester, by the time you bring it up to them, you're probably going to be so fucking irritated.
Yeah. That's when you be happy that you have more than one sibling and you gang up on the one.
Even in adulthood.
Hey, we gotta get the gang together. Going against this one this week. See what you did?
I mean, that does kind of still happen.
Yeah.
A little bit when you think about it.
Yeah, sometimes you have to have an intervention. I haven't had one yet. What am I going to be intervened on?
But-
Jill, stop talking about us on your podcast.
You got a problem? You got beef?
I heard what you said. It gets more complicated as you get older.
Family is complicated.
Mm-hmm.
There are also people that you have to, well, you don't have to. You don't have to deal with them.
Don't have to.
That's true.
Yeah.
But that brings me to another question. And my husband and I have had these discussions, and we are on opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to this. I believe that if somebody is causing harm in my life, or they are just not adding to it, they're not adding value, and they're bringing you down, or they're just negative all the time.
The negative energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just toxic.
I'm just done. And he's like, well, they're blood. They're your family. So regardless of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no. To me, just because they're blood relative, just because you're my sibling, does not mean that I have to put up with your shit.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
But he doesn't think that. And I'm like, nope, I'm done. You know what? If you're not going to be...
See, I have conflict resolution is not my strong suit. So for me, I see where he's coming from and I see where you're coming from. I would love to say, I'm done. I would love to say that and be like, nope, not doing it. Fuck it. Nope. But I won't, because I have been, my family is very close. Like, we talk every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's hard.
Yeah.
I think maybe for me, it's just an awareness of, I don't agree with this, and resetting the boundary.
Right. But by resetting that boundary, it just kind of puts that divide in. And it's just never the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you just kind of accept that. And this is the new relationship now. It's just more superficial. And it's not like I never talk to them. It's just...
Right.
I don't invest.
Relationship.
Right. I don't invest time into the relationship anymore.
Mm-hmm. But then how do you handle family functions?
Well, we don't have a lot of family functions because we're all kind of spread out. So there's just not a lot that we get together for anyways.
Yeah.
It will probably eventually happen. It'll probably be a little awkward, but we're all grown-ups.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get over it.
I don't know. I get the awkward sweats. So even the idea of it is making me sweat. You want to hear what to do when you have a situation where you just can't get over it?
Yeah.
Picture this. Your parents move you from a typical suburban home where you spend your days roller skating to your friends' houses in your rainbow bright roller skates.
Yeah.
Did you have a pair of those?
No.
They were all the rage back in 89. Houses are really close together, and you have the run of the neighborhood to play with as many kids your age as you can find. Then you move to the country, where your country neighbors, as we like to call them in Wisconsin, are those that live within 5 miles of you.
Yeah.
Nobody close. So there's no more roller skating to that nearest friend's house. And we did try that once in grade school. We tried to rollerblade to school. 6 miles is a long way.
Yeah.
You're trying to rollerblade.
Yes, it is.
I do recall over and over my mom saying, you're not going to make it to school on time. Really, seriously, you're not going to make it. You're still going? You're still okay.
She just let you
She just let
figure
us
it
go.
out.
And then sure enough, a little while later, we got picked up on the side of the road.
She drove and found you.
So when your parents are working and you have older siblings, you're not headed to childcare. You're left in the hands and in the company of those siblings. So who right now is having flashbacks to what that was like to have your siblings? No, you were the oldest.
I was the oldest.
So you don't know what it's like to have a sibling babysitting you growing up. But were you a good babysitter?
Well, we were all really close in age. So it was legit one after another.
Okay.
For the first 3. And then the baby came a few years after. When my parents left the house and we were left to fend for ourselves, which didn't happen very often, it was just the moment they walked out the door, we just beat the living crap out of each other.
Did you seriously?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. My brother
That's
used
why
to choke
you're
me.
the way you are now. You're like, I'm putting up with no shit. I can throw down.
brother.
I can throw a bitch.
Yeah. He used to choke me till like I was about ready to pass out. And then I would grab my curling iron and just go after him. And
Seriously? Jesus.
And then it was like they walked back in the door and we were like perfect little angels.
So for me, on those summer days at home, I had the choice of siblings to play with because I was one of 5. So granted, I was a little bit more of an introvert. I spent a lot of my summer reading a book series called Fear Street by R.L. Stine.
Oh, yeah.
I also liked making videos with my parents' gigantic video camera. But nonetheless, when I needed someone to play with me or star in one of my films, I had my siblings. And we had our high moments, like the time that we laid one of my sisters at the bottom of the basement stairs and put ketchup by her mouth and then convinced another one that she had fallen down the stairs. That was funny. But we also had our days when we didn't get along, which often then that would lead to my older sister, who was always in charge, playing the role of Judge Wapner. And we'd get out our TV trays and then we'd get the nut mallet from like the Nutcracker set. And that was her gavel. We'd have to be at our TV trays being plaintiff and defendant. And she was Judge Wapner. And then she would do the ruling of how we were going to handle. So, we did have our moments. Not choking each other, but hey, everyone's got their thing.
Hey, we had other moments too. We had each other's back when we needed to.
That's right. I think sometimes if you like are cool with like physically fighting with each other, you're also cool with physically fighting for each other.
Yeah, that's how I got in my fist fight.
There's more than one. Jesus. This does not surprise me. I need to take a page out of your book. You know what? We should take martial arts classes together.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, I need
to hit you.
That's the
Just kidding.
In the face. That's the form of conflict resolution that I need to learn. It sounds like you had good relationships with your siblings, and I did too. And perhaps it was due mostly to the rural upbringing and having limited choices.
Right.
But I'm glad if it was from that forced time together. I'm glad because we're still close now. But what if that wasn't the case? What if some of the complaints that you spoke of, those common issues that siblings have, would have gotten in the way of a relationship with my own siblings? What if my segment, instead of starting with these cute anecdotes of my upbringing, started with, Dear Abby, I fucking hate my siblings. What do you do? So complete alienation from one's family of origin isn't entirely common. 5% of the U.S. population is completely alienated from their family. Can you imagine?
5%?
5%, no contact with family of origin. But upwards of 27% have an estrangement with at least one member of the family, oftentimes a sibling. So that one that you just don't like. An estrangement can start as early as when they're actually living in the same house together. Just stop talking to that sibling. But funny enough, when I was writing this segment, I had a great example as to why kids start to not like each other. My children were sitting on my bed next to me as I was typing, and I hear my son hit his sister as hard as he possibly can. My adult brain knows that his child mind reacts physically as an immediate and easy response. She touched him, he didn't like it. That's what he did to maintain his dominance and retaliate. However, that doesn't make it okay, nor is it healthy for their relationship or any relationship that he would have to immediately just deck a person because they got her personal space. I don't know. You seem to have more experience on this than I do. But it was one of those situations where I immediately stepped in. But what do you do with everyday sibling quarrels? Should you step in? Researchers in the field, like marriage and family counselors, who are putting themselves in natural settings and watch children fight all day long.
Oh, geez.
They say that kids fight normally up to 8 times an hour.
Holy.
Color me not impressed, but I am impressed by those researchers because that's one hell of a job. Your job today is to spend 8 hours observing these children fight and go. But even if the excessiveness of it makes it hard not to stop it, you shouldn't always stop it. With physical violence, a good practice is to break up the fight and revisit it later in that situation so that the person who's acting out doesn't feel unheard. So going back to the example with my son, when he decked his sister, yes, I made him go to his room right away to cool down, but then I went and talked to him after the situation so he knew that I understood why he was upset.
Right.
But if the fight isn't physical or very emotionally harmful, because emotional violence can be just as bad as physical. If it's just a common dispute, experts in the field say it's actually good to let your kids have conflict and talk things out on their own. And since you can teach them good conflict resolution skills in the process, you're setting them up for successful relationships later in life because, it's one of the key things you need for a good relationship is communication.
Right.
It's really hard, though, as a parent, to not want to jump in when your kids are going at it for the 4th, 5th time in an hour.
Right.
Right? Your kids are young yet, so do your daughters fight?
Oh, God, yeah.
Do they?
Oh, God,
already?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous.
I'm picturing them because
The little one just turned 18
She's
months.
feisty as shit. So I could see her like putting it up.
She does. And the problem is like the other day, she starts screaming because she wanted the seat that Addie was in. And Jesse's natural reaction was to yell at Addie. And I'm like, why are you yelling at Addie?
Mm-hmm.
She was there first, but she's the little one and she's so used to getting her way.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, no, this has got to stop.
Oh my God. Yes. There is the parent manipulation like a mother.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say it's the girl in our house and the father. That
Yeah.
Oh, the manipulation is
It starts
there.
young too. It starts
Good
real young.
Lord. So, but conflict resolution is something that you as a parent, even when your kids are young, if you see them having a difficult relationship with each other, is something that you can model for them. Now, it's really hard to do if your conflict resolution skills are not up to snuff. So for me, when I get in a conflict with Captain Hot Pants, usually I shut down.
Yeah.
For him, he gets fired up.
Yeah.
So we are like fire and water when it comes to fighting. How about you guys?
No, we both get fired up. Yeah.
So I guess I
it-
get
it
fired up,
escalates.
but like one of the best things you can do is just model or try your best to model conflict resolution when your husband is being stupid about stupid stuff because they're stupid. So what are some things you can do? Before you jump in, count to 10 and let them have their moment to try to resolve it and just be aware of what's going on. So don't immediately jump in, as long as they're not hurting each other. 2, when you do jump in, try to jump in a calm manner. So yelling isn't going to fix the situation and it might make it worse. I fail at step 2 almost every time. 3, if you need to intervene, make sure you aren't immediately jumping to solve the problem for them. Just reiterate what each of them is saying to show that you empathize with them and teaching them that you hear them. Okay. And the 4th thing you can do is help them come up with a solution. So if one child needs to give in, you need to make a note of this, explaining why one child is getting their way over the other. That shows that in conflict, sometimes your reward isn't immediate, but down the road, that sibling will remember you did them a solid and hopefully return the favor. So kids aren't always going to get their way. And it's important for them to know you're not always going to get your way.
Right.
But in this house, we at least appreciate it when someone does something nice for you, does you a solid. Now, again, let's be real. If this is like the 17th fight of the hour,
Right.
and it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and somebody skipped a nap and you're just over it, these are going to be really, really hard things to do. As a parent, all I'll say is if you yell, don't dwell on it. Just let it go and just try to do it different the next time. And then repeat that every single time that you fail. Because damn, it is hard not to yell. When that is the energy level of the house, I'm going to match that energy.
Right.
Not intentionally. So, but that's all well and good. That's great advice if you still have kids in your house who are young and they're fighting over things like cookies and coloring pencils and whatever the case may be. But what if your kids are older or they turned 5 like my son and they no longer give a shit what you have to say and they're very opinionated, or they're adult enough to be able to decide for themselves whether or not they want to have a relationship with their siblings? What if they're already past that point and they're just like, I hate my sibling, I don't want anything to do with it? Do you, as a parent, jump in to maintain a civil relationship for family events to help them get along? Let's say we're looking years down the road. I would have a really difficult time not trying to force them to get along. Now, the psychology background in me is going to go at it from an emotional standpoint, and I'm going to try to explain to them how the other one is feeling. But I shouldn't. Should I do that? No, I really shouldn't. I really should not be the voice for them.
Yeah, you should just
To let them do their thing.
stay out of it completely.
But it's hard, even when I see strained relationships with friends and their siblings. It's really hard to not feel a little sad.
Oh, absolutely. And it's always nice to have somebody who can play devil's advocate and give you, well, have you thought about this? Maybe they're, because sometimes in the heat of the moment, it's just hard to think of those different aspects.
Yeah.
But it has to be the right person. And I don't think the parent is the right person.
Right.
Because it's going to feel like they are picking sides.
Right.
Or favoring.
Okay, so that's kind of what I was finding when I was looking at what you should do if you have adult children that don't get along. Much like we learned from bromances in episode 6 when we had Kent here, you can't force someone to open up emotionally.
Right.
And in this case, you can't force someone to reconcile that strained relationship. You just can't. All you can do is perhaps as a parent or another sibling, if you're the sibling in this case, is take responsibility for your role and consider the influence you might have. So there are some things parents can do without just saying, you're going to get along for us. One of the biggest things I found that adult siblings fight about is inheritance disputes.
Oh, yeah.
Having a set will and a care plan in place, not just what you're going to do after you die, what you're going to do perhaps when you get Alzheimer's or dementia, who's going to take care of you. Have a care plan in place before anything happens. That can be so key in maintaining relationships with your children once you are gone.
Oh, I absolutely agree, because you don't want to, let's say one of your children is better off financially than the other person. You don't want them to just assume, well, they make more money so they can just take care of it.
Yeah. And for me, I went into mental health instead of health care for a reason. I have a sibling who's a nurse. I have 2 siblings who are in physical therapy. I am in mental health because I cannot handle that stuff. My mom had a botched surgery. She had to be packed. I couldn't do it. I wanted to help. I could hold her hand and look the other way while it was happening. I can't do that. However, I will be happy to financially help whichever one of my siblings chooses to care for her. But these are things that you want to sit down and do with your children while you're still alive.
Yeah.
And let them decide who's going to do what. Because the thing is, you all might have something you're good at, or you may all geographically live in different places, and it's going to make the most sense to have one kid do something over the other.
Yeah.
But it's important to let them know that you considered them equally in all of it.
Well, and just from the sibling point of view too, there's going to be a lot, if one person is just taking all the burden, whether it's financially or physically taking care of somebody, that's going to create a lot of resentment against your other siblings if they're just letting you do that.
And if I wouldn't speak that to my siblings and say, I just cannot do that. The thought of seeing my parents needing medical care is too emotionally draining for me.
Right.
I cannot handle that. So communication comes in there and is really key.
Well, and then you're still offering to help, just not physically.
Absolutely. Like I would if I communicated that. Actually, Captain Hot Pants and I went and did this recently, decided who would get what if something were to happen to us, who would get the house, who would take care of our finances, who would do the follow through on our dying wishes. But whatever you put in your will, at least then you have something in place. And if your kids don't like it, tough shit, you're dead. And this is what you've decided, but at least they're arguing about the decisions that you've already made. So proactively avoid conflict for your children and legally create a game plan for what will happen if something happens to you. So again, you can't make them happy and not hate each other because of your decisions, but at least they can blame you instead of fighting everything out. Just make it easier. Outside of inheritance issues, the other way a parent can act before resorting to forcing children to love each other is by checking subconsciously.
Right.
Now, it's a running joke that you shouldn't have a favorite child, but let's be real, we all do, right?
I'm
just kidding. I don't have a favorite kid. No. But some kids are just easier to love, right? They might be less argumentative, they're more passive, and that's not saying they're better, because we know that passion and self-reliance are really great adult assets. It's just that it means you spend less time giving them negative attention.
Right.
Add to this the pressures of social situations like school, religion, larger family structures, as well as the buy-in to gender stereotypes where girls are supposed to be more well-behaved and boys will be boys. So it's difficult for parents to stay neutral and know that every kid is different, even if yours is acting out and is the outlier in a situation. It's really hard just to not immediately want them to be well-behaved. But my point is that you might feel struggle with one child more than the other, and they can feel that as well.
Yeah.
On the flip side, they can feed in to it egg on the other child who's misbehaving. Here's what we're talking about: parent manipulation.
Right.
My daughter is the queen when it comes to Captain Hot Pants. For the child that requires a bit more reprimanding due to behavior, rather than treating it as a flaw, such as looking at it as my child is a hyper kid and I need to get them in line, consider sometimes that your reaction with immediate reprimanding and anger might be the reason they react that way. Well, my child gets one-on-one attention when he acts out, that's why he acts out.
Right.
Sometimes that does happen. And in the reverse, if the sibling who isn't misbehaving is feeling left out, the quiet one, the corner coloring, that was me growing up.
Oh,
I liked coloring and I refused to get dressed. I liked my Wonder Woman underwear. No one was going to tell me different.
Yeah.
And if I had to get dressed to go outside, I wasn't going outside. End of story. I was Wonder Woman. But just make sure to check in with them and let them know that you are thinking of them too. So parenting is all about balance, and we can only do the best we can. But it doesn't hurt to consider how we play a role in siblings not liking each other.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like I deal with that a lot right now, just because my youngest is still needs so much more attention, trying to balance that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I get that from my son. My son's the older of the two, and my daughter is small. So sometimes, I'll be honest, I still carry her to breakfast in the morning because I can. and she's my youngest, and
Yeah.
she only weighs 30 some pounds. So like, I'm going to carry her until I can carry her. And I think he sees that kind of as, why doesn't mom do that for me? But he's 90 pounds. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, physically I can't carry him.
Right.
I try to give him more one-on-one attention and things he does enjoy. And that's all you can do.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard
Yep.
to balance it
It is hard.
immediately, but in the end, if you have children who aren't getting along, you can just remember that just like relationships with anyone else in life, we all grow up and we all change as we age, and sometimes we just grow apart.
Yeah.
But if you're missing that sibling or that family togetherness you once had when all your children were under one roof and you want a better relationship, just start by evaluating yourself and the cause of the strain to see what needs to be mended. It might take a few I'm sorry's on your end, and accepting that we are all imperfect people who often get defensive and put up walls when we're attacked, but recognition is the starting point. Just be aware of, if you have a strained relationship with a sibling, of your role in it. So in the long run, you have to consider if you're okay with leaving this life, knowing that those close to you knew you loved them, or being okay with the fact that they might not. And that's really sad to think, but that's the reality of it. Life's short. You don't know when it's going to end. And if the relationship is something that you strive for and you want it, then go get it. And if you can't get a full, healthy relationship back, but settle for something like common middle ground just to get through family times together, just remember to set boundaries as to what you will and won't allow in your own home or in the time together. Such as, your sister can come over for Easter, but she has to wear a full adult bunny suit, because how are you going to fight if one of you is just like Bunny? I mean, can you imagine? No, Bunny, you only hop. Nope, no walking. My house. Easter at your house next year, switch roles, but this is my house. Wiggle that tail.
April Fool's Day is tomorrow. Now I need to think of something epic to do.
Oh, and happy birthday to my long-lost sibling, my sister-in-law, Holly.
Oh, does she listen?
Well, Holly, if you don't listen and you don't get this birthday message, I'll know, because you won't say, thanks for saying happy birthday.
Yeah,
in that
there you
case, we now have a sibling rivalry. Bunny suit for you.
So April Fool's Day, we at least hope to get a laugh, usually at the expense of someone else. Or someone we care about.
That's the best, because it's the day where you're like, you don't feel bad about it.
Right. Are you supposed to feel bad about it?
Sometimes I do.
Just kidding. A day that's filled with hopes that it'll lead to hilarious confusion. And in the end, wild and appreciative laughter. Right? That's what you hope.
Yeah.
But they don't all turn out that way.
What?
According to Reader's Digest, there are many theories as to the origins of April Fool's Day, but some historians believe the day originated in, get this, 1582.
Really?
Yeah. When France switched over to the Gregorian calendar, which changed New Year's Day from April 1st to January 1st. So back in those days, the news took a little longer to reach everyone, and those who were a bit slow on the uptake, celebrating New Year's Day on April 1st, for example, became the butt of pranks, including having paper fish glued onto their backs, because fish are easy to catch. So people still refer to easily fooled people as fish to this day. They would call them gullible.
Oh, that's where gullible comes from?
Except that word isn't actually in the dictionary.
Oh, I was thinking about gillable. Like fish,
Yeah.
like gills?
Yeah.
Gullible is a...
Right. But that word's not actually in the dictionary.
Gullible isn't?
No.
What? God damn it, you got me. I was like looking it up in my head. I'm like, gullibility, gullible. It's...
Such a
Fuck, my brain just missed the joke altogether.
So here's some funny stories. Well, depending on which side of this you're on.
I don't know, I already found that funny, so.
2001, Hooters server Jody Berry from Florida won a contest wherein the server who sold the most beer would win a new Toyota. When Berry went to get her car, she was given a Yoda doll from Star Wars.
Yoda.
Get it? Yeah, a toy Yoda.
Worked her ass off showing off those
Right.
titties, and then
So she was so angry that she hired a lawyer to sue the restaurant's corporate owners, Gulf Coast Wings, on allegations of breach of contract and fraudulent misrepresentation, according to the USA Today. The two parties later settled for an undisclosed amount.
they probably paid her more than the freaking car would have cost.
Probably sure they did. That's kind of an asshole move.
That is
though.
because you just gained like net profit from all of your servers around the country.
Right. To do
Working their
this.
ass off to get a toy.
Next one, nothing says gotcha like a faux suicide.
No.
Yeah. It's just in poor taste. Randy Wood from New York State thought he'd have some fun with his ex-wife in 2004 when he staged an elaborate front yard situation where it would appear that he was hanging from a noose,
No.
when in actuality he was safely attached to a harness. No harm, no foul, right? Shockingly enough.
Except all the 911 calls.
Yeah, it turns out his ex-wife
Dipshit.
didn't immediately think, oh wait, isn't it April 1st? Maybe I'm being fooled. She did what any reasonable person would do. She called 911, who sent over an ambulance and fire truck and police cars. And then Randy's prank was discovered. He ended the night in a jail cell.
Well, yeah, that's just dumb.
So yeah, it's only funny until someone calls 911.
That's like the ill taste, and I'm not meaning to offend anybody, but pregnancy. I'm
Right.
fake pregnant on
Right.
April Fool's. It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. Well, what are you talking about? Didn't you get your...
No, that was a
Significant-
birthday present, and that was not
It's a girl!
to the world. That was just to someone specifically. And after I saw him shit his pants, I never played that joke again. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you got to listen to episode 3.
So if you're looking for an April Fool's joke to play to release some of that fluffiness away from your life, and we'll throw a friend or family member for a loop, but is innocent enough to not harm anyone.
I got my pencil. I'm ready.
Maybe try unwrap a lollipop, replace the candy with a Brussels sprout, rewrap the treat to present to your unknowing kiddos. Can you imagine? Yeah, you're gonna have to give them a real lollipop after that, but
I'm totally doing that. Okay. What's next?
squeeze glue into an old bottle of nail polish, shake it up, and then spill it out on parchment paper with the glue streaming from the bottle. So when it dries, you can put it on the carpet to make your target think they have a troublesome mess on their hands. Remember that prank that was going around for a while where parents asked their kids to bring them toilet paper as they sat on the toilet?
No, I don't.
Oh
no,
my
I don't
gosh.
remember this.
It's hilarious. Okay, so the unsuspecting kiddo would hand the toilet paper to their parent who was sitting on the toilet, like, hey, can you bring me some toilet paper? We're all out. When they handed it to them, the parent would smear chocolate on their hands and then say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And the kids would freak out thinking they now had poop on them. You should look up these videos. That's hilarious.
I have watched the videos of the parents who tell their kids they ate all their Halloween candy the night before.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of the same thing. The kids, you never know how the kids are going to react.
And then there was one kid who's like, it's okay, Mom, just next year we'll share. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, there's no way my kids would say that.
Nope. So I've done some pretty epic pranks, usually at my coworkers. My coworker and I one time pranked another coworker by putting Dixie cups filled with water side by side, touching from wall to wall in their office or their cubicle, leaving her unable to get to her desk unless she removed the Dixie cups one by one. Otherwise, water would spill all over.
Oh, that's mean. Hopefully you shouldn't have anything important to do.
Yeah, it took a while. She was not very happy. Another time, I saran wrapped the entrance to my coworker's cubicle and then filled it with balloons.
That sounds fun.
That was fun. Have you
I
done
wish
any?
I had some good ones. No, like I said, I've been afraid to do April Fool's pranks.
Well, now you got your kids.
Yeah, but now, well, I'm going to do Jell-O. The chocolate one's hilarious. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it and videotape it without them seeing my pants aren't down, because I ain't going to show you all my downstairs. I mean, it's too early. It's only episode 9. What's your fluffy takeaway for the day?
My fluffy takeaway, you almost had me thinking maybe I should reach out. That is strange.
Almost. And I was like, fuck that shit.
And then I'm like, yeah, we're good.
We're good.
What's your fluffy takeaway?
My fluffy takeaway is that never get in a fist fight with Jenny. Just throw down. My God.
But seriously. All right, so that's it for this episode of Fluffy Mother Fluffer. Hopefully you have a great April Fool's Day. If you have any awesome pranks you do, make sure to let us know. Videotape them.
I pity the fool.
Also, make sure to like and share us on Facebook, Instagram. Check out our blog.
All right, see you guys later.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Fluffy Mother Fluffer. Hopefully this episode lifted a little bit of fluff off that pile called life. And if not, well, join us again next time, you fluffy mother fluffer, you. I have to tell you what happened yesterday. I almost became a pedophile.
So what?
Okay. So I went to get a burrito at a local establishment where you make burritos.
You make them?
At Qdoba.
Oh.
To Qdoba.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'm like just hanging out, and all of a sudden they tell me my total, and it was like $16, and all I got was a burrito, like a bowl. So I'm like, oh, my total's really high. And he's like, oh, you're not with this guy after you. And there was this younger kid, probably like, I don't know. I'm not good with ages, so he could be legal, he could be not. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. He's, around that high school age.
Okay.
And instead of being like, oh no, I'm not, and just leaving it at that, no.
Oh, no.
My brain can't do that. I go, oh, I'm not, unless you want to be.
Oh, Jill.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. But I didn't think about it, like, as in it would sound really sexual.
Yeah.
So then I paid for his burrito because I'm like needed to back it up. I'm like, oh, I meant like if you want me to pay for it. I'm like, you know what? Just forget it. Just leave it on there. I'll pay for it. So I paid for his meal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh.
sorry if you were at the Qdoba in Green Bay yesterday
And you got hit on by this
during
MILF.
the early bird special hours. And yeah, you saw this MILF with her daughter, and we were dancing to music in the store. And then I told you if you wanted to be with me.
You're so weird.
I didn't mean it like that.
I don't know
Get
how
outta
you do
here.
that. That's fine.
Oh my God. Sorry.